Belfast-based rap trio called Knecap, who've been causing a huge amount of controversy. They've just been cancelled from a performance at the Eden Project. One of their lines in their songs says, what is it, Andrew?
It says, "The only good Tory is a dead Tory. Kill your local MP."
Now, some new footage has emerged of, old footage of them saying up Hamas, up Hezbollah. And since then, the group have apologised to the families of the MPs who were tragically murdered, including MPs Joe Cox and Sir David Amess.
Now, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, who's the Tory Home Affairs spokesman, has asked Glastonbury Festival to cancel Knecap from their line-up in the light of the killing MP remarks. Is this going a little bit over the top? What do you think? So
we're joined now by campaigns coordinator for the Revolutionary Communist Party, Fiona Lali. Fiona, good to see you. So tell us what you make of this story. What's going on here?
I say that this is actually about Palestine. I think what's happening right now is there's a smear campaign where you've got the whole of the British establishment and the media coming down on this group because they've used their platform to call for a free Palestine and to talk about how the West is complicit in the genocide that's taking place. And so they're trying to silence them. And I don't think it's going to work. And I think it's an example of how out of touch the media is, how out of touch Parliament is with how ordinary people think about Palestine. Well,
the Palestine issue is sort of secondary in a way, because the first bit of this story that came to the attention was this idea of a best Tory is a dead Tory, whatever it is. And Kemi Badenoch waded in on this and said that they should be cancelled for saying that. So surely this is about whether they would have the freedom of speech to express those sorts of violent, aggressive, hateful views, rather than the Palestine issue, which seems rather secondary.
I don't think it's secondary because this has come about because they were at Coachella and they put behind themselves Free Palestine, and they got the crowd, they got everyone chanting Free Palestine because that is what most people think and that's what they want.
But they were also, can I just jump in, they were also saying pro-Hamas, making pro-Hamas statements, and Hamas is a terrorist organisation that, as we know, was responsible for massacring many Israelis last October.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the British government says about Hamas, and that's for them to say.
No, but they did massacre those people.
The point is, they support a free Palestine, and I support a free Palestine.
Sorry,
and I would defend any oppressed people and their right to defend themselves.
But can we just clarify this? You accept the massacre was carried out by Hamas?
Something happened on October 7th. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that.
Why don't you tell me what you think?
I am telling you what I think. I think that there's a lot of violence that takes place across the Middle East, and I think Western imperialism is responsible for all of that.
So
and I think, or rather, I know that the British government are active participants in that violence. Can I just say, the way that the media have covered this story,
you haven't called it out.
The way that the media covered this story is insane, considering the real violence, the real killing. Babies are being massacred.
And you didn't call it out.
Do you know 100 children die every single day in Gaza, according to UNICEF? And I'm calling it out right now. I'm calling out the British government who are trying to silence the there's very few artists, there's very few people out there who will talk about Palestine because they get smeared like this, because they get cancelled like this. And that happens to musicians, that happens to politicians, and it happens to ordinary people in their workplaces as well. And that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace.
What's the smear?
Saying that Knecap are somehow responsible for violence, as if Knecap have killed anyone or done anything like that. Like, that's not what's
interesting though, Fiona.
If we want to think about killers, let's go to number 10. Let's go to White House. But you see, let's talk about the real terrorists that exist. Let's go to Netanyahu. Let's go to Israel.
Hang on, you've come on here and
these are the killers.
You've presumed. I largely agree with you in terms of what's going on in Gaza. I think it's risible what's happening to people there, and children particularly. I think it's inexcusable. However, you on here, and we expected to have a free speech debate with you, and we wanted, I can't speak for Andrew, but I personally think cancelling somebody that's using language in art which others might find offensive is ridiculous. But you've kind of come in here with the assumption that because we are part of the media, we're going to be like every other media. And that's your mistake.
Okay. I mean, it's good if you believe in free speech. I also believe in freedom of speech. I mean, I think that the way in which it is talked about in the media is incredibly hypocritical. And I think the fact that you started this by framing it as though Palestine is secondary is hypocritical. That's what I mean when I say you're part of the rest of the mainstream media. Because no one is talking about what is actually happening, the real violence that is happening, not just language. And in a lot of these discussions, right, people say, hasn't the rhetoric gone too far? Isn't everything becoming a bit divisive? But the point is, real violence is taking place in Palestine and in this country.
So
through
but
austerity,
let's go back to
through what the Labour government is doing.
Most of us have never heard of Knecap. I hadn't seen the footage from Coachella. We didn't know that.
They came on very popular now.
They came on the radar. They came on the radar because of saying the best MP, a Tory MP is a dead Tory MP. Go and kill your MPs. That's where they came to our awareness. It was nothing to do with Palestine. Do you think they should be allowed to say that?
They can say whatever they like. I'm not a part of Knecap. They can use their words in whatever way they want. I think what's awful about how this has taken place is people are trying to equate their words with the violence of the bombs that the British government helps to send to Israel. The whole discussion has become about this rhetoric thing and cancellation. And I think ordinary people are disgusted by it. Normal people are disgusted by MPs. They're disgusted by Parliament. They're disgusted, and they don't care what they think. They don't care about their individual feelings or anything like this. And understandably so. And they're disgusted by it because real violence comes from Parliament. It comes, I would argue, from the capitalist system as a whole. There's systemic violence taking place every single day in the Middle East and in Britain. And I want to argue
so you're
against
accusing
that.
the government of murder, are you?
Absolutely. Keir Starmer specifically, David Lammy specifically, for their role in Palestine and their role in austerity. The winter fuel allowance, for example, there will be excess deaths of about 4,000 people as a result of the winter fuel. 100,000 people have already died as a result of austerity that started with the Tories.
Obviously, Labour can defend themselves, and Keir Starmer would say, don't listen, we agree with you on the winter fuel payment parts, I think it's outrageous. But they would say, obviously, that bears no resemblance whatsoever to events of October the 7th in Israel. And to draw that comparison is at best crass.
I think death is bad. Death is wrong, right? We can agree that we don't like death. So let's say, who is responsible for death? That's what we're trying to get to the source. That's what we should be looking for here. Who is responsible for violence and death in society? And it comes from politicians who uphold a capitalist system which puts profit above need, right? That is what this all comes down to in summary. A system that will do anything it needs to maintain its profits. That's what this is really about. And that causes genocide in Gaza, and it causes austerity in this country.
Fiona, you're from the Revolutionary Communist Party. What do you want in 2025? What would you like to see happen to the global system?
I would like to see a revolution against the billionaires. I would like to see a free Palestine. I would like to see an end to imperialism and an end to the capitalist system itself. And the best thing is, I think there's a growing mood for that already in society. You can see that in a small case in the support for Knecap, but in a broader sense, in the absolute disgust and anger that people have against Parliament, against MPs, and against the capitalist system as a whole.
OK, thank you so much, Fiona Lali there from the Revolutionary Communist Party. And anybody that she said defamed in that interview, we would we'd just like to say they're not here to defend themselves, and they would give you a very different version of events.